In July 2026, in a city in the English Midlands, there may be a moment that a lot of people thought they would never see again. The reported plan is that Prince Harry will walk back onto British soil, and that this time, for the first time in years, he won't be alone. According to multiple reports, his wife Meghan and their 2 young children, Archie and Lilibet, are coming with him. If it happens, it will be the first time the whole Sussex family has been in Britain together since the summer of 2022, and the first time Meghan has set foot in the country since she attended Queen Elizabeth's funeral that September. On the surface, it sounds like a homecoming, and in one sense it is. But a homecoming raises a question that's much harder than the headlines make it look, and it's the question this whole story really turns on. Coming home to a country is one thing. Coming home to a family is another. And while there are real, genuine signs that one relationship inside that family has been quietly thawing, there's another that remains frozen solid. So the honest version of this story isn't Harry and Meghan are back and all is forgiven. It's something more complicated and more interesting. Yes, the door to Britain appears to be opening, but the door to his brother William and to Catherine, the Princess of Wales, may be the one that stays shut. Before we go any further, it's important to be clear about what is actually known here, because this is a story where reporting and speculation get tangled together very easily. The plan for the Sussexes to return has been reported by serious outlets, including The Telegraph, The Sun, and the London Evening Standard. The peg for the trip is a specific event, a 1-year countdown to the 2027 Invictus Games, which will be held in Birmingham, with reports pointing to an event around the 10th of July. That much is widely reported. What has not happened at the time this is being made is official confirmation. The Sussexes team has not formally announced the trip, and the palace has stayed silent. So treat the broad outline as well-sourced reporting rather than confirmed fact, and treat anything about private family meetings as even less certain than that. Keeping that line clear is the only honest way to tell this story. It also helps to remember how all of this began, because the word comeback only makes sense against the size of the original break. In January 2020, Harry and Meghan announced they were stepping back from their roles as senior working royals, a moment the press quickly nicknamed Megxit. Days later, the late Queen called a meeting at Sandringham with Charles, William, and Harry to thrash out what that would actually look like. The arrangement that came out of it was firm. The couple could not be half in and half out, keeping the status and duties of royal life while also pursuing independent commercial careers. They gave up their working royal roles and moved to California, eventually settling in Montecito. What followed was a series of very public accounts of their grievances. So when commentators today talk about a Sussex return, they are talking about something that cuts against the entire logic of that 2020 settlement, which is exactly why every report about it lands with such force. So why now? Why, after years of Harry insisting it simply wasn't possible, does this suddenly look like it could happen? The answer is not really about feelings. It's about security, and it's the most concrete part of this entire story. For years, Harry's position was blunt and consistent. He would not bring his wife and children to the United Kingdom without proper state-funded armed protection, because he did not believe they would be safe otherwise. This wasn't a vague complaint. It became a long and bitter legal battle. When Harry and Meghan stepped back as working royals in 2020 and moved to the United States, Harry lost his automatic entitlement to that level of taxpayer-funded security. He fought the decision in court, and in May 2025 he lost his appeal, calling the outcome, in his own words, an establishment stitch-up. Around that time, he told the BBC something that seemed to slam the door for good. He said he couldn't see a world in which he would bring his wife and children back to the UK at that point. Read that again, because it matters. As recently as last year, the man himself was saying the family return we're now discussing was off the table. Then things shifted. In October 2025, Harry took a different route, writing privately to the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, to request a fresh assessment of the threat against him. In December, it was reported that the body responsible for these decisions, known as RAVEC, had ordered its risk management board to reassess his threat level for the first time since 2020. And in January 2026, multiple outlets reported that this review had gone in Harry's favor, finding that he met the criteria for the higher level of protection. Now, that last point should be held carefully, because the government deliberately does not confirm the details of anyone's security arrangements. But the consistent reporting was that the obstacle Harry had always pointed to, the lack of guaranteed security for his family, was being removed. And the moment you remove that obstacle, everything that follows becomes possible. The reported family trip isn't a change of heart so much as the result of a door that was finally, reportedly, unlocked. There's a reason the trip is being built around the Invictus Games rather than around any family occasion, and it's worth understanding because it tells you how carefully this is being handled. The Invictus Games is Harry's own creation, an international sporting competition for wounded and sick military veterans that he founded back in 2014. It is, by any measure, the most respected and least controversial thing he does. Anchoring a return around Invictus gives the whole visit a clear, dignified purpose. It frames the story around Harry's work and a cause people admire, rather than around royal soap opera. As one source put it to reporters, building the trip around Invictus gives it a sense of purpose and protection, and keeps the focus on Harry's mission rather than on family politics. It's a smart way to come back without the return itself becoming the only headline. Not everyone reads it so charitably, and it's fair to include the more skeptical view. In a new book, the biographer Tom Bauer claims that Harry planned to use the 2027 Games as a vehicle for a triumphant return to royal life, even suggesting the idea was for King Charles to open the Games while Meghan unveiled the children to the world's media. That is Bauer's characterization, and it should be read as one author's interpretation rather than established fact. The kinder reading, and the one Harry's own camp pushes, is simpler and more human. Sources close to him say he has felt real sadness at being unable to bring his wife and children to the country where he grew up, that he wants his children to see where he comes from, and that he wants them to know their wider family. Both of these things can be partly true at once. People can want genuine family connection and a flattering spotlight at the same time. Most of us do. It's worth pausing on Meghan specifically, because for her this return carries a particular weight. She has not set foot in the United Kingdom since the Queen's funeral in September 2022, and her last real public appearance before that, during the Platinum Jubilee in June 2022, included a moment that stuck in the memory. She was met with scattered boos from some of the crowd on the steps of St. Paul's Cathedral. Returning to a place where that happened, after years of distance and very public conflict, is not a small thing. Reports describe a mixture of careful planning and genuine apprehension on her part, with sources saying the prospect fills her with real anxiety even as the trip is arranged around her husband's work. There is also a business backdrop that commentators keep raising. Meghan has been building a lifestyle brand and has had a streaming relationship with Netflix, and there has been plenty of debate about how those ventures are performing. Some observers frame the return cynically, as a way to refresh the couple's royal credentials at a useful moment. Others see it more simply, as a wife supporting her husband at an event that matters to him. As with so much in this story, the truth is probably not all one thing, and it's fairer to lay out both readings than to pretend to know exactly what's in someone's heart. This brings us to the relationship that has actually been getting warmer, because it provides the crucial contrast with the one that hasn't. Harry's relationship with his father, King Charles, has shown real, visible signs of repair over the past year. In that same BBC interview in May 2025, alongside the frustration, Harry said plainly that he would love a reconciliation with his family, and he spoke about not knowing how much time his father has left, a reference to the fact that Charles has been undergoing treatment for cancer since early 2024. Those were not the words of a man burning bridges. They were the words of someone leaving a door open, and his father appeared to walk through it. In September 2025, Harry and Charles met privately at Clarence's house for around 54 minutes. It was their first face-to-face meeting in 19 months. A single short visit doesn't undo years of distance, but it was real, and it was the clearest sign yet that father and son were finding their way back to something. Reports since have suggested Harry desperately wants his father to open the 2027 Games, describing it as a dream to have him there. The illness that hangs over the family seems, if anything, to have added urgency to the wish to mend things while there's still time. Now hold that picture of a softening father next to the question at the heart of this whole story, and the contrast is stark. Because the warmth that has reached King Charles has not reached Prince William, and it's the relationship between the two brothers and between Harry and Catherine that makes the idea of a true family reunion so uncertain. The estrangement between William and Harry is not a recent sulk. It has hardened over years into something that royal observers describe as deep and stubborn. The brothers, by most accounts, have had little meaningful contact for a long time. The wounds are well documented. There was the 2021 Oprah Winfrey interview, in which the couple made serious allegations about the family. There was the Netflix series. And above all, there was Harry's 2023 memoir, Spare, which laid bare private conversations, arguments, and grievances in extraordinary detail, including physical confrontations Harry described having with William himself. For a family that prizes privacy above almost everything, those were not small wounds, and they did not heal quietly. What makes the estrangement so striking is how close the two brothers once were. They were the boys who walked behind their mother's coffin together in 1997, bound by a grief few people could understand. For years, they were each other's closest ally inside an institution that can be lonely and strange. Before the 2020 departure, Harry himself spoke publicly and warmly about his brother, crediting William with helping him through his darkest periods and pushing him to get the support he needed. That is part of what makes the current silence so hard for observers to absorb. This was not a relationship that was always distant. It was, by Harry's own earlier account, a genuinely deep bond, which is exactly why its breakdown has been so painful and so total. When people talk about hoping the brothers can find their way back, they are not imagining a closeness that never existed. They are remembering one that plainly did. If anything, the friction has continued right up to the present. In a detail that captures just how complicated things remain, it emerged in late 2025 that William and Catherine had been named in connection with Harry's ongoing legal case against a major tabloid publisher, with Harry's lawyers alleging the couple had also been targets of phone hacking. That case went to trial in early 2026, where Harry took the stand and spoke emotionally about how the British tabloids had, in his words, made Meghan's life an absolute misery. So even as the reports of a family return were building, Harry was in a London courtroom in a legal fight that pulled his brother and sister-in-law's names into the story. It's hard to imagine a clearer illustration of how tangled this all is. This is why, when you read the reporting closely, the picture of the trip is so lopsided. Sources have suggested Harry hopes to get his children some time with their grandfather, the king. But a meeting with William and Catherine is described, even in the more optimistic reports, as a long shot, something Harry hopes he might slowly chip away at rather than something anyone expects to happen. That single phrase, a long shot, tells you almost everything. The father may be ready. The brother is not, at least not yet. It's important to be fair to both sides here, because it would be easy to flatten this into heroes and villains, and the truth is more human than that. From Harry's perspective, the desire to reconnect appears to be real. He has spoken repeatedly about family, about wanting his children to grow up knowing where he came from and who their relatives are. Whatever one makes of how he has conducted himself publicly, the wish to heal a family rupture is an understandable one. From the perspective of William and Catherine, the hurt is also real and also understandable. They have watched private family matters aired in interviews, in a streaming series, and in a best-selling book, and have mostly chosen not to respond in public. People who follow the couple closely describe a deep wariness and a sense of broken trust, and it would be strange if years of public revelations had left no mark. The honest summary is that this is not a simple misunderstanding waiting to be cleared up. It's a genuine breach, with real grievances on more than one side and no quick fix in view. There's a quieter, sadder dimension to all of this that often gets lost in the talk of strategy and security, and it's about the children. Archie and Lilibet have not been in the United Kingdom since 2022, when they were very small. Lilibet, born in the United States, has spent almost no time in her father's homeland at all. On the other side, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis are their first cousins, growing up just a few hours' flight away, and the two sets of children barely know each other. If the reported trip happens, it raises the poignant possibility of cousins meeting almost as strangers. And if it doesn't lead to any contact between the families, it underlines something genuinely sad, that a generation of these children is growing up disconnected from one another because of a quarrel they had no part in. Whether that gap ever closes depends entirely on whether the adults want it to, and on that, the signals remain mixed at best. There's also Catherine's own recent journey to consider, because it shapes how any of this lands for her. In 2024, the Princess of Wales went through one of the hardest years imaginable in public life. After major abdominal surgery early in the year, she revealed in a deeply personal video message that she was being treated for cancer, and she stepped back from public duties for months while she recovered, choosing to manage the whole experience on her own timeline rather than the public's. When she did return, gradually and on her own terms, she came back arguably more admired than ever, widely seen as one of the monarchy's greatest assets. That matters here for a simple reason. Catherine has spent the last couple of years focused on her health, her children, and steadily anchoring the future of the monarchy alongside William. Whatever warmth or coldness exists between her and the Sussexes, she is not approaching any of this from a position of weakness. If anything, she comes to it as a figure of unusual public strength and sympathy, which only adds to the sense that the Wales household will engage with a Sussex return entirely on its own terms, if at all. So what should we actually watch for and what remains genuinely unknown? Quite a lot, in truth. First, whether the children come at all. Some reports state confidently that Archie and Lilibet will travel, others say it remains unclear. Until the family is actually on the ground, that detail is not settled. Second, whether King Charles will see his grandchildren. Given the thaw with his father and Charles's reported wish to spend time with them, this seems more plausible than a Wales reunion, but it has not been confirmed, and a king's schedule and a family's caution can both get in the way. Third, and most watched of all, whether there will be any contact at all with William and Catherine, or whether their absence from the story will speak for itself. And fourth, a question that hangs over everything. Will a visit like this calm the waters or stir them up again? Some commentators worry that more proximity simply means more material for future books, series, and memoirs. Others hope that being in the same country, around a shared and worthy cause, might be the first small step towards something better. Both are guesses. Nobody actually knows. When you step back from all the noise, the shape of the story becomes clear, and it's not the shape the more breathless headlines suggest. This is not the tale of a family healed. It's the tale of a family at very different stages of healing, all at once. The reported comeback is at its core about reconnection, with a country Harry left, with a cause he built, and possibly with a father he has been carefully rebuilding a bridge to. That part of the story carries real warmth and real hope, and it deserves to be recognized as such. But the question the comeback raises, the one that won't go away, isn't really about Charles. It's about William and Catherine. The thaw has reached the king. It has not reached the man who will be king after him. And that, in the end, is the honest answer to what this comeback means for William and Catherine. For now, it means very little change at all. A stadium in Birmingham, a worthy cause, and the careful logistics of security can bring Harry back to British soil and perhaps back into his father's orbit. What they cannot do, at least not yet, is bridge the deeper, harder distance between two brothers who were once inseparable and are now barely in contact. If the day ever comes when Harry and William are willingly in the same room again, by choice rather than at a funeral or a coronation, that will be the real reunion and the real story. This reported trip is not that day, but it might, just might, be a small step on the very long road toward it. For now, all anyone can honestly say is that one door appears to be opening, another remains closed, and the rest of the world is left to watch and wonder which way the family will finally turn.